Practice is like a brick house. Well, maybe not all practice, but the kind I'm talking about today, it is. Hi, I'm Ashley Phillips with Phillips Training Solutions, and I want to talk to you about something called deliberate practice because not all practice is created equal. Deliberate practice is an effective way for anybody to develop skills, even if they're very complex skills. Let's get back to that brick house. How is that like practice? Well, think about the way a brick mason would build a house, one brick at a time, totally focused on placing that one brick exactly the way it needs to be placed, getting the mortar right, making sure it's straight and level, and then we build on that. We add another brick on top of it. But if that brick's not placed properly, we fix it. Before we add any other bricks, we fix it so the house will be structurally sound. Now, it's a little bit difficult for me to bring a brick house into my recording studio, but what I can bring in is Legos. So I've got one of my son's nice Lego creations here in front of me, and it's an impressive boat. Got a young lady fishing off the back of it. But you know how this started out? It started out like this: a bunch of pieces that had to be placed properly together in order for the boat to work. Couldn't just be thrown together any old way. So let's talk about how that relates to deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is a detailed, organized, specific approach to practice that gives us gradual improvement over time, and that improvement accumulates upon itself. The growth becomes exponential. Now, in order to do this well, for whatever kind of complex skill we're talking about, we need to follow 5 steps. 5 steps to deliberate practice. Step 1, identify what the best performers in that area do. If you want to be better at hitting a golf ball, watch professional golfers and see what they do. If you want to be better at playing the piano or dancing or whatever activity you want to do, you want to be better at public speaking, find someone who is a top performer and look at what they do and examine the component parts of how they do that complex skill at such a high level. Step 2, create a detailed plan which pushes you beyond your comfort zone. You can't just work on the stuff you're already good at. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone, doing things that are beyond your skill level, even though you will make mistakes, because that's how you improve. Now, I do want to add one thing to that. We should still work on things even after we've mastered them. Even if we've mastered a skill, we should continue to practice it if it's a fundamental that is necessary for doing the overall activity. It's a concept called overlearning. It's practicing beyond the point of mastery. And when we do overlearning, those skills become available to us even when we're under stress, even when we're nervous, even when things are difficult. So we need to combine overlearning with pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zone to get the most out of our practice. Step 3 to deliberate practice is have a growth mindset. A growth mindset means that we desire a challenge and we understand that making mistakes is part of the process because we are pushing ourselves beyond our current ability level, beyond our comfort zone, and we're okay with that. We embrace the fact that we will make mistakes, but we can correct those mistakes just like the bricklayer corrected the brick that wasn't properly in place. Just like my son, I'm sure, made some mistakes in building this boat, but he corrected the mistakes when he realized this one is out of place. This isn't in the right place. I got to take it off and move it. So mistakes are part of the process. Step 4 to effective deliberate practice. Conduct practice sessions which have 3 elements. They are consistent, they are distributed, and they are focused. Consistent means we don't just do it every once in a while. We do it on a consistent basis to maximize our improvement over time. Distributed means we spread out the practice sessions. We don't have one day of massive practice and think that's enough. We do a little bit at a time. How long those practice sessions are will depend on what you're doing. Some things might be very short, some might be longer, but we are going to spread them out over time. And number three is that they are focused. Whatever component you're working on in that practice session, you're 100% focused on that. I'm not worried about other components. I'm just focusing on that one. Just like the bricklayer is only focused on the brick that he's laying at that moment. Just like my son was only focused on the one Lego he was putting in place at that moment to build the boat. Step 5, get feedback. Feedback needs to be timely. We need feedback in the moment and sometimes immediately after a practice session. And when necessary, we need to make corrections. Be open to feedback. That's part of the growth mindset. We want the feedback. We desire the feedback because we want to get better. Yes, at times it hurts a little bit because we're getting feedback that says we didn't do it quite the way we should have or could have, but over time that feedback helps us build and improve. So we master the components one by one with feedback, making corrections as necessary. We have an effective deliberate practice when it's detailed, organized, and it's gradual. It's going to work over time. And we get accumulated improvement that builds on itself. And all of this, one last thing I'll say about deliberate practice, we want it to be connected to the real world. We want it to be just like hitting the golf ball out on the golf course. We want it to be just like playing the piano in front of a concert crowd. We want it to be just like doing the dance at a recital in front of a crowd. We want it to be just like the public speaking event is going to be. As much as we can make our practice similar to the real world, the better off we'll be.